Iran says it was preparing to strike 3 Ukrainian targets with ballistic missiles. Iran completed preparations to strike 3 sites in Ukraine before suspending the operation, according to Mohsen Rezaei, a senior military advisor to Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei and former commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The claim, if accurate, suggests Tehran considered expanding the geographic scope of its military posture beyond the Middle East, raising fresh concerns over the potential reach of Iran's long-range ballistic missile arsenal. Speaking on August 4, 2026, Rezaei said Iran had prepared an operation targeting 3 locations in Ukraine but ultimately halted the planned strikes. He did not identify the intended targets or provide evidence supporting the claim. Several Iranian ballistic missiles possess sufficient range to reach southern, eastern, and parts of central Ukraine when launched from positions in northwestern Iran. However, possessing the necessary range does not mean 3 specific targets could be struck successfully. At maximum range, some missile variants may require a reduced payload, while actual accuracy and terminal effectiveness depend on the missile configuration, guidance performance, and warhead employed. According to a Persian-language account of Rezaei's televised remarks, Tehran had prepared to strike 3 locations in Ukraine after the July 25 attack on the Iranian vessel Anna in the Caspian Sea. Rezaei said the response was suspended after Kyiv stated that the ship had been hit by mistake and that Iran was still examining this explanation. He did not identify the intended targets, selected weapons, launch areas, or planned timing. Rezaei did not name the 3 sites. The distances to Dnipro, Kharkiv, Kyiv, and western Ukraine would require different missile systems. In April 2026, Iranian-linked networks circulated an artificial intelligence-generated propaganda video depicting fictitious attacks on Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Dnipro. Nothing links those cities to the plan described by Rezaei, but their locations illustrate the range constraints. From Tabriz, used here only as a geographic reference and not as an identified launch site, Dnipro is approximately 1,470 kilometers away, Kharkiv 1,550 kilometers, and Kyiv 1,855 kilometers. From Tehran, the respective distances increase to about 1,950 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers, and 2,340 kilometers. Lviv is nearly 2,200 kilometers from Tabriz and 2,700 kilometers from Tehran. Moving launchers into northwestern Iran would therefore increase the portion of Ukrainian territory within range. These figures are not fixed values independent of missile configuration. Maximum range is generally achieved with a lighter warhead. This allows the missile to travel farther but reduces its explosive effect on arrival. On systems relying primarily on inertial navigation, guidance errors may also accumulate during a longer flight. A missile rated for 2,000 kilometers may therefore not retain at that distance the payload and accuracy associated with a launch well inside its maximum range. The Ghadr and Ahmad, longer-range derivatives of the Shahab-3 architecture, present a plausible option. The Ghadr is estimated to have a range of 1,600 to 1,950 kilometers, while the Ahmad is generally credited with about 1,700 kilometers. From suitable positions in northwestern Iran, both systems could reach Dnipro or Kharkiv. Kyiv would be near the upper limit of the Ghadr's range and beyond the distance normally attributed to the Ahmad. A strike on the Ukrainian capital would therefore require either a launch position in Iran's far northwest or a lighter payload, with corresponding effects on terminal damage. The Sejal is the most consistent option for covering Dnipro, Kharkiv, and Kyiv from northwestern Iran. This medium-range ballistic missile uses 2 solid propellant stages and is carried on a road-mobile launcher. Its range is generally estimated at 2,000 kilometers with a warhead of approximately 700 kilograms. Solid propellant shortens launch preparation compared with liquid-fueled missiles such as the Ghadr and Ahmad and reduces launcher exposure. The Sejal's exact status was uncertain for years, but its reported use against Israel in March 2026 suggests that at least part of the system has reached operational service. The Khorramshahr family could extend this reach into western Ukraine. Its different versions are reported to have ranges of between 2,000 and 3,000 kilometers. The upper figure is based on a smaller and lighter re-entry vehicle, which reduces the available payload. Khorramshahr remains less documented than Iran's other medium-range systems. Public information does not establish the number of missiles produced, launcher availability, or the actual performance of the longest-range versions. The ability to reach a location does not establish the capacity to neutralize it. Among the systems with sufficient range, commonly cited circular error probable values are about 300 meters for the Ghadar and 500 meters for the Ahmad. Khorramshahr's accuracy could exceed 1 kilometer if it relies on an older inertial guidance system, while no sufficiently reliable public estimate is available for the Sujal. These figures may also vary with missile version, distance, flight profile, and the operation of any terminal guidance system. Under these conditions, firing one missile at each of the 3 sites would not guarantee their destruction. Command posts, radar installations, underground depots, or individual buildings would probably require several missiles per target, together with accurate coordinates and functioning terminal guidance. An air base, industrial complex, or energy facility would present a much larger target and would be easier to damage. If the 3 points mentioned by Rezaei referred to cities rather than installations, the accuracy requirement would be lower, but the danger to civilians would be considerably higher. Iran's recent losses do not remove this capability. A March 2026 assessment by Iran Watch estimated that U.S. and Israeli strikes had substantially reduced the number of available launchers and disrupted missile production without exhausting the inventory. Iran might still have had between a few hundred and roughly 2,000 ballistic missiles, although its launch rate had declined considerably. Fighting since that assessment prevents a precise inventory from being established for August. A strike on 3 targets would nevertheless require far fewer assets than a sustained regional campaign. Ukrainian defenses would introduce another source of uncertainty. Patriot batteries have demonstrated an ability to intercept Russian ballistic missiles, but their number is insufficient to provide uniform protection across the country. On August 2nd, President Volodymyr Zelensky said ballistic missiles remained difficult to counter and that Patriot effectiveness depended on interceptor availability, according to the Ukrainian presidency. An Iranian missile following a medium-range trajectory could arrive at high speed and leave a short engagement window. The outcome would depend on the missile type, salvo size, target location, and whether the area was covered by a Patriot battery. The Caspian Sea incident provides the political context for the threat. According to Iran, the Anna was carrying rolled steel sheets when it was struck near the mouth of the Volga River. 1 sailor was killed, and several others were injured. Ukraine described its Caspian operation as an action against vessels involved in transporting military material between Iran and Russia. During a July 28 telephone call, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said Ukrainian actions targeted Russia's war effort rather than civilians or civilian vessels. His Iranian counterpart, Abbas Araghchi, said Tehran did not seek escalation but demanded compensation, according to an account of the exchange. Tehran therefore has missiles capable of reaching parts of Ukraine from Iranian territory. Dnipro and Kharkiv fall within the envelope of several Iranian medium-range systems, while Kyiv would probably require a Sejal or a Ghadar variant used near its maximum range. Striking western Ukraine would depend on Khorramshahr versions whose performance and availability remain less certain. An attack on 3 areas is technically possible. Destroying 3 specific targets would require more missiles, accurate targeting data, and the ability to penetrate Ukrainian defenses. Rezaei's statements describe a credible threat in terms of range, but they do not demonstrate that the preparations were real or establish how effective the operation would have been.